Welcome back to Take Tuesday. Episode 3 of Season 2 is premiering as we speak. Welcome to the premiere. I hope you enjoy this Take Tuesday. And we have 6 hot takes here today. As you see, the first one is already up here on the board, on the screen, graphic. And we rate these on a scale from piping hot to chilly. Piping hot meaning very unrealistic, it's not going to happen. And then you move to hot, becoming more likely, but it's still very unlikely. You have warm, still unlikely, but you're getting to more realistic talk. Then you have cool, means, yeah, I could see that happening under the right circumstances. And then you have cold, meaning very unlikely. And chilly, just meaning it's not going to happen. No, it is going to happen. I'm mixing it up. Cold, good chance it's going to happen. Chilly, basically guaranteed it's probably going to happen. 99.999999% sure. So, let's not waste too much more time. Let's get right into the hot take. So, as we already see, Big Boy Flex is here with the first hot take, and it is the Giants go 11-6 next season. So, I really like the way that the Giants are built. And if you go through, you watch the film, you see the Giants have a lot of young talent that have a lot of potential. Now, paying Daniel Jones as much money as they did, I think that's highly controversial. I think it's about 15 to 20 million more than he should have received. But I guess we're going to see. I guess they're really banking on him making that jump in that production as well, because he needs to make a jump in production. He needs to have a season where he throws 25 or more touchdowns. If you're going to be paid as much as he is, ideally you want 30. And then along with his running ability, and with them getting more weapons, Paris Campbell, and they really need to improve that middle of the offensive line. We're going to see Saquan Barkley is coming back. They're going to work on a deal with him as they've hit the long-term deal with Daniel Jones, but they have the franchise tag with Saquon. And I don't know if I already said it, but I think this is cool. I think this is very realistic. The New York Giants are a solid football team, and Brian Daboll was only getting his feet wet last year, and the players bought in. So I'm really excited to see what some of these young players can really come into this next year. Kayvon Thibodeau had a strong rookie year. There's a lot of, Dexter Lawrence had a strong year. There are a lot of phenomenal pieces and young players in the right spots in this football team to really make something special. Daniel Jones is the big question mark. If Daniel Jones can make the jump in passing the ball, and the receivers could help him out a little bit, I think this team can absolutely be one of the best teams in the NFC. So, and honestly, right now, I can see the New York Giants pulling off an NFC East crown. I can see them getting the caps, getting the shirts. It's very possible. They're a very well put together team. The cornerback situation is going to improve. It's a little better, but at the end of the day, that still needs work. Safeties are pretty good. They did lose Julian Love. Linebackers could use work. That offense side of the ball. Some receivers, they did sign some. Paris Campbell is one of them. And the interior offensive line needs to be worked on, but they have a lot of young, talented players with a lot of potential in the right spots. And that is very important for a team being good. And the New York Giants have a lot of key elements. You have fantastic coaching, a fantastic culture. I don't see why this Giants team won't win 10-plus games. I think it would be a disappointment. It would be a shocker, depending on how Daniel Jones plays. That's the catalyst. That's the deciding factor. But I'm going cool because I think Daniel Jones is going to have a very good season. Still think he got paid a little too much? Yes, considering he hasn't proved that he's worth that much. He hasn't proved that he's worth, $32 million to me. So going out and giving him that much is kind of wild. But it is what it is. If he makes a leap and he takes him to the promised land a few times, maybe wins them one or two, absolutely worth it. But let's move on to the next hot take we have here. Our next hot take is from Silver Sabs. He's saying that the entire NFC East will make the 2023 NFL playoffs. I'm going piping hot. Just because saying that every team from a division will make the playoffs is very unlikely. It means they're going to take up the whole, all the wild card spots, and that, someone's going to win the division. That's one guaranteed. And then you still have you're probably going to have, I think the 3 teams that are going to make it, the Giants, you have the Cowboys and the Eagles. And I think it's going to be the Giants are going to win the division. I have the Eagles probably sitting at number 2, but I could also see the Cowboys jumping the Eagles and maybe the Eagles being number 3. Right now, I think the Giants are a better football team. I think they are going to be a better football team in 2023. Right now they're not. But they have a lot of draft capital. They made some good moves. They traded for Darren Waller. They have a lot of good pieces in place. So I think it's going to be hard to topple the Giants this year. So the team that I think is going to make it, which, it's possible. I could see the Washington Commanders being a team that doesn't make it. But the Commanders, you know what? I'm going to change my mind. I'm going to go to hot just because I think the Commanders are a talented football team. They have an okay defense. I liked Sam Howell last year. He looked all right when he played. You have good weapons. You have solid weapons. Curtis Samuel, Jahan Dotson, Terry McLaurin. The offensive line isn't as bad as you may think it is, but I'm not saying it's good or great, but this Washington Commanders team can be a sleeper team. I'm just going to say if there's going to be one team out of this division that doesn't make the playoffs, I think it's the Commanders. I see the Commanders sitting home. With the Saints getting Derek Carr, having good defense, I could honestly see the Saints being very good. The Bucs, they're going to be iffy. Panthers, depending on how their quarterback, on how the beginning, or, who they draft and how fast they come into fruition. Then you're probably going to have the Lions or Bears winning that division, honestly. I can see the Vikings being pretty good, just not like last year. Then you have NFC North. We talked about that. NFC West, you're going to have really, you're going to have, Matthew Stafford's going to come back healthy. They did trade Ramsey. They are kind of like in a retooling stage. You have Arizona, not high in Arizona. Seattle can be pretty good. I can see Seattle making the playoffs again. I'm missing a team. The Niners. The Niners are going to make it. I think the Niners are going to win that division. Then you could probably have Seattle or the Rams if Stafford comes back playing well and that Rams team gets it together. I think it's very unlikely that you see the entire NFC North in the playoffs. So actually, I'm going to go piping hot just because I'm not saying the Washington Commanders are bad. I just think that there are other teams that would be in a much better position than they would be heading into Week 17 or 18 matchup that is very important for making the playoffs. I think one of those teams, any of those teams can really beat the Washington Commanders to ultimately take that last seed in the playoff spots. It's going to be the last seed. I think the NFC North is going to be probably, second or third seed, and then you're going to have 5 and 6. And then I think 7 is going to go to another team. Now, you never know, though. We're still a while away. We have to see what the draft is, so we are getting ahead of ourselves, but that's kind of the fun of Hot Take Tuesday. So I'm going to give this one a piping hot. I could give it a hot, but I think having all 4 teams in, the NFC isn't top heavy. They don't have many elite teams. They don't have many great teams. The AFC is far superior in that category. But the NFC, the talent is more sporadic. It's more diverse. There's a lot more teams are just solid football teams. So, then you move on. Next hot take, number 3, from the Colts corner. His hot take. Colts do not find their guy. I don't know why I put Ion. It's a little typo. Colts do not find their guy in the draft, and they trade for Lamar Jackson. I'm going piping hot right off the rip. I don't think the Colts are going to trade for Lamar Jackson. Now, Chris Ballard has came out, and he has said that Lamar Jackson is a special player. He didn't say anything about maybe pursuing him. He did kind of say, we're going to look into the situation and evaluate if it's worth pursuing, and we're going to see if we can get something done with the Ravens, something similar to that. But, I think it's a smokescreen. It's very difficult to believe anything you hear around this time of year before draft time. So I truly think that this is a smokescreen. I don't think that the Indianapolis Colts are going to trade for Lamar Jackson. Even if that guy is there, even if the guy that they don't want is there at 4, say they trade up to 3, which I don't see them doing. If the guy isn't there, I see them taking maybe an edge rusher or a corner. Honestly, it wouldn't shock me, or it wouldn't shock me one bit if they traded back. I think all those are much more likely options for Chris Ballard, because Chris Ballard, he's never been transparent. He's the Colts have really have always kept everything very hush hush, and that's just how they do things. And I don't see why Chris Ballard will change it. I don't see why Chris Ballard will go ahead and really trade for Lamar Jackson, even though he knows his job is on the line. I don't think he's going to go ahead and trade his draft picks for Lamar Jackson and have to give him a contract that is almost damn near fully guaranteed. But I'm going to go piping hot. I think it's very, very unlikely that the Colts actually pull off a trade for Lamar. I just don't see it, and if the guy isn't there that they don't like, but I think they're going to get Levis or Richardson. And both have their ups and downs. I'm not going to explain which one I want now because that's going to be for a different video, but is probably going to be one of those two guys. And say the Colts, say Will Levis is there, or Richardson, say they don't like one of the two that fall to them, or one of the 4, you never know what happens, but say they don't like one of them, maybe they just go an edge rusher. Maybe they trade down, because you can't tell me that another team isn't going to want to trade up. There are other teams behind the Colts that are going to be QB needy. And to be honest with you, I don't think Anthony Richardson makes it past 5, so maybe a team wants to, maybe the Titans won't really offer the Colts. Maybe another team will offer the Colts to move up to number 3. You really never know, but I'm just going piping hot with this one. I see it very unlikely. I don't really see this one happening. Then the next one you have here is by Tones. His hot take is Jets go all in free agency, signing both OBJ and Zeke, as well as trading for Aaron Rodgers. So let's talk about Aaron Rodgers. No, let's talk about OBJ and Zeke first. OBJ signing with the Jets, I think, is a bit unlikely. I think the Jets actually have a pretty good receiving core. I'm going to look it up real quick so we can get accurate. I can get accurate, who's playing there and who the receivers are. So I'm not talking on my butt here, but they did sign McCall Hardman, did trade, Elijah Moore, but they signed, McCall Hardman like an hour or two later. So you have Garrett Wilson, Corey Davis, Denzel Mims, McCall Hardman, Alan Lazard. I think there are a lot of guys here that just doesn't make sense to go and sign OBJ. OBJ is going to want a big volume share. I think he's going to want a lot of volume, and I don't think he's going to get that with the Jets. The Jets are like a defense run team as well, so I think that will really make a big impact whether, if OBJ would want to go there or not. And I don't think OBJ is going to want to go there. I don't think the Jets are going to overpay. And that part right there, I'm going to say it's hot. And then you say signing Zeke. I'm going to say signing Zeke. I think that's realistic. But, I don't know why I said that, because then at the end of the day, you realize they have Breece Hall. They have Michael Carter. They have Ty Johnson. They have guys at the running back position. So maybe they just signed him for like a veteran piece. I don't, maybe just that goal line guy, but Breece Hall is that guy. He's that every down back guy. I think he will be fine. I don't see any reason to sign Zeke. I'm not sure where Zeke is going to go, but I don't think New York. At first I was kind of thinking, yeah, why not? But you look at what New York has, the Jets specifically at the running back room. I don't see any reason to go out and sign Zeke. He's going to want some decent money. I don't think he's going to want a lot. He's not going to get a lot. But I don't really see the point of really signing him. I don't think they have a big enough reason, that this is it to go and get him. So I'm going to go piping hot there, actually. And you have, as well as trading for Aaron Rodgers. We all know this has been going on for like 2 months now, like a month and a half, where Aaron Rodgers is like, we're going to make a decision. Or, the Jets and the Packers just can't agree on compensation. Another team has kind of popped up in the mix, and this is a team I kind of thought where he was going to go initially. The San Francisco 49ers have popped up. And, it's been discussed that the Niners have offered the Packers, have given the Packers an offer for Aaron Rodgers, and Aaron Rodgers would love to go to San Fran. You have a fantastic offensive line. You have incredible weapons. You have an incredible system, an incredible head coach, incredible running back in Christian McCaffrey. You look at the defense, is incredible. The Niners will be immediate Super Bowl favorites, and my Super Bowl pick if Aaron Rodgers goes there. I know it's going to be a lot to take it. It's not easy to take it over a guy like Patrick Mahomes or Joe Burrow. One of those two are probably going to be in the Super Bowl next year. Maybe there's a surprise team where maybe the Bills actually pull it off and win in the big game, which they have not been able to do. They have to figure that out. I think Josh Allen is a bit of an issue when it comes to that. I think he's a bit a part of the problem, but that's another video for another day. I don't know if the 49ers would be just such a complete team. I don't see why the team wouldn't be able to go undefeated and win at all. That's how good they would be with Aaron Rodgers. Now, Aaron Rodgers really taking a step back last year. Did he want to play? Did he play bad on purpose? I don't know. And you can't really go and say he did because you don't know if he did or not. So he just has a hard time trusting his receivers sometimes. He's picky with his receivers. But at the end of the day, that experience and that arm hasn't left him. Maybe he just wants to change the scenery. He's tired of Green Bay. Everyone's tired of him doing this every single offseason. But, he's a human being. He wants to go play where he wants to play. He wants to go be successful and win something. And Jordan Love is sitting there waiting for Rodgers to leave and to see if Jordan Love is the next Aaron Rodgers, who Aaron Rodgers came in for Brett Favre. Brett Favre was traded to the Jets, so how fitting. But I really think that Aaron Rodgers is going to be a 49er, honestly. And I've said that from the beginning. For a while, I really thought he was going to go to the Jets, but it's taken too long. Something is up. If the Jets really wanted him, they would have him by now. But it's just not looking like that's going to happen. So I can absolutely see the Niners going after a guy like Aaron Rodgers. So I'm going to go piping hot with this one. I think it's very unlikely that all this happens. I don't think they sign OBJ. I don't think they sign Zeke. I think the most realistic option here is if they officially trade for Aaron Rodgers, and I don't even know if it's going to happen because it's taken way too long. Something is going to happen. Another team is going to come in and just take it away from the Jets. So it seems like it happens. There's a front runner for a long time, and then another team just comes in, and you're like, what? But I feel like the Niners make sense. He kind of grew up there. The only thing that really I like to think about that kind of makes me say no is that Aaron Rodgers is a bit of an egotistical guy, and I had no problem with that. He's, that's who he is, and I have no problem with him having an ego. I don't think having an ego is a horrible thing. Now, let's not get into that stuff. But there's a place and time for anything, for ego, for anything. But I think he just has confidence, and he is who he is, and he doesn't care, and I like that about him. And sometimes it may not rub off from the teammates that well, but he knows what he is. He's smart. He knows where he wants to go. He knows what he wants. So I'm going to go piping hot on this take. Next up, LCCJS21. Titans trade with the Cardinals for the third pick, which makes the Colts trade for Lamar. So, say the draft goes how we're expecting it. CJ Stroud 1, Bryce Young 2nd, or flip-flop. And say the Titans say to the Cardinals, hey, we really like Anthony Richardson or Will Levis. We really like X quarterback. We're gonna offer you this, and you're gonna accept it. And let's say they do. Would this make the Colts trade for Lamar? I think it's piping hot just to have the Titans trading up to 3. I know it's been something that has been talked about, and it's becoming more and more common in mock drafts, but, I think it's very difficult to predict trades. And that's why if you guys include a trade like in the draft especially, normally I'm going to label it as piping hot because you really never know. It probably won't happen. You think it will and you're taking a shot in the dark. It's, you're taking an uneducated guess, but at the end of the day, I don't think so. It's a very low percentage of when a team trades up or if something actually goes through that the media thinks is going to happen. It just doesn't work like that. But I'm going to go piping hot in that part, and which makes the Colts trade for Lamar. So if it does happen, let's say it does happen, we're going to rate that in a whole different section, on like a whole different grade. So the Titans did trade up to number 3, which makes the Colts trade for Lamar. I'm going to go piping hot. I feel like if the Titans may move ahead of them, it may make them think a little more. But I honestly think that I just blanked. I just blanked, man. But let's get back to it. But let's try to think of it. But I honestly think that I honestly think that the Colts won't trade for him. If the Titans move up to number 3 and the Colts are at 4, I don't really see the Colts trading for Lamar. Oh, we were grading this separately. I just don't see it. Maybe if they do, maybe if they do see the Titans there, we were like, oh, we got to go get Lamar Jackson and get it up on them and make sure we're going to be better. Jim Irsay can maybe have a play in that as well. So I think it's possible, but I think it's 99.999% that it doesn't happen, so I'm going piping hot. Next one we got here is last hot take. Gold 4307. Saquon Barkley sits out off-season / preseason. I don't know why I put PFF season. Workouts, OTAs, etc. for Giants. Then signs a long-term 4 to 5 year deal with Giants. So, Saquon Barkley is the most talented running back in the NFL. One of the most, if not the most talented, right? Issue is those injuries, man. You don't want to give a running back with... it doesn't matter how... And I hate to say this because I love Barkley. I love him. He is a fantastic character, and he's just a great player. But when you take your emotions out of it and look at it from an objective standpoint, you have to look at the injury history. And you have to look at, the shelf life for running backs. And just, how much of an impact do running backs really have on winning a championship? When is the last time that a top 10 running back on a football team has been, when a football team has had a top 10 running back has won the Super Bowl? When has it last happened? This past year, you had the Chiefs win it. Isaiah Pacheco, I don't think he's a top 10 back. Last year, who won last year? I can't even think of who won last year, but was it the Bucks? No, it was the Rams. They didn't have a top 10 guy. Then the Bucks before that, they didn't have a top 10 guy. The Chiefs didn't have a top 10 guy. It's just, unless you're a team like the Niners, and your team is built like them, and you have a system like Kyle Shanahan. See, and it even grinds my gears with that. I wouldn't have paid Christian McCaffrey all that money, but that really felt like it was a missing piece to an offense where, that was kind of different. It was that year, they traded for him, they paid him the money, but they traded for him, and it was kind of the missing piece. Unfortunately, they had some injuries at quarterback. That's what really hurt them. But at the end of the day, back to the Barkley situation, running backs typically start declining at age 27, 28. And we've seen some running backs get some pretty beefy contracts, a lot of money, and Todd Gurley, Ezekiel Elliott. There are so many more out there that have just gotten big-time contracts, and what happens? It just seems like their bodies fall apart. And with Saquon Barkley, already having injury issues, and just think about running back not being a premium position, I don't think you pay him $15 million a year over 4 to 5 years. I think that's way too much. If he didn't have the injury issues, I would say maybe a 2 to 3 year, $15 million a year. I would be totally okay with that. But when you start talking 4 or 5, 17 million, 16, 17 million, that's way too much. Too much of a risk. You have to look at it from an objective standpoint and what history has shown. It wouldn't be a good deal. Say he defeats the odds. Okay, but we're looking at it from an objective standpoint and how similar situations like this have fared in the past. Paying a running back big time money doesn't mean you're going to win a championship. It's much more valuable to go and maybe pay that to a corner that the Giants need. Maybe pay it to an interior offensive lineman. Maybe trade for a guy and then pay him that. I'd give Barkley a 2-3 year deal, $15 million a year. That's max $15 million a year. It's just running backs aren't going to be the reason why you win a Super Bowl. And you can't pay them premium money or top end money like that if you're not going to get a championship out of it. It's just not the way to go about it. But I'm going to go piping hot just because of all the reasons I explained. Now is he going to sit out? I don't think he's the type of guy to sit out. I do not see him sitting out. But I don't see a 4 to 5 year deal getting done with $15-16 million a year. Maybe $15 million a year for 2 to 3 years. That's about it. But that's going to do it for episode 3, season 2, Hot Take Tuesday. I appreciate you stopping by, tuning in, and if you enjoyed, make sure you like, subscribe, put the post notification bell on so you don't miss any future videos. And I'll catch you guys next week. This is JDW SportsTalkShow, signing off.